Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Rhyme of the Times for the weekend in 28th of February 2026. Mexico back from the brink. Mandelson taken to the clink. Iran and America out of sync, and it's Trump who blinks. As, at the mullahs, Israel and the US throw the kitchen sink. In Gorton and Denton, traditional parties sink while the Greens are in the pink. The Commons' razors are right royal stink. There's no link between what Tourettes sufferers say and think. On Sunday, some of Mexico's National Guard fell as government forces using US intel took out the leader of the biggest drug cartel. With some of the crime gangs, that didn't go down well. The Jalisco New Generation cartel head had been captured by authorities but ended up dead. In Mexico, when such things occur, crime and law enforcement get a bit blurred. BBC and BAFTA admitted they had regrets over how they mishandled the case of Tourettes. The film, I Swear, that addressed the issue of a condition that for a long time's been taboo, had a great Sunday night, winning 3 awards, shining light on a subject often ignored. But the person on whom that film was based was in the audience and seemed to act in bad taste. What he shouted may have been unmentionable, but for Tourette's sufferers, it's unintentional. Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were on stage when John Davison gave out a racial slur. Despite the Beebs broadcast being on a delay, the slur wasn't deleted but allowed to stay. That decision was considered to be the wrong one. Much of the film's good work had been undone. How far and how fast can a reputation sink from top-ranking diplomat to a Camden clink? The inevitable happened late Monday afternoon as Mandelson exited the Last Chance saloon. Away to the police station he was whisked. The police had wind he might be a flight risk. They had a lot of things they needed to get clear and knew the peer must not disappear. It seems Pete only does things for Pete's sake, making decisions to help himself on the make. While Darling and Brown were doing their best, Mandelson, it seems, was feathering his nest. And now, emerging from the files, it seems he may have been a stooge for the Russian regime. Parliamentary procedure laid down by Erskine May has dictated since 1844 what MPs may say, and the extremely deferential way they should speak of the royals and the respect they must pay. So Tuesday was quite an earth-shattering day, as the Commons Speaker said for one day it's okay to say and debate whatever tickled their fancy on the conduct and character of former Prince Andy. There was no holding back, no being coy, and how they did assassinate and destroy the late Queen's favourite and overindulged little boy, who for 10 years was the UK's special trade envoy. And at the end of the debate a vote was sealed. All documents concerning that role will be revealed. If ever the volatility of British politics were seen, it was in Friday's by-election that swept in the Greens. Reform UK didn't quite fulfil all their dreams, and Tories, of course, fell apart at the seams. With mainstream voters venting their spleens, the country, it seems, is now looking to extremes. The Greens and Reform UK are now trendy. The old guard needs reform as they go green with envy. What do Labour think of their exec and PM? for blocking their top man from representing them. The Labour executive had overlooked Andy Burnham because of a few things that had concerned them. Gordon Bennett, they were denting any chances they had of stopping Gorton and Denton turning out so bad. Trump has much to say, a lot of rubbish, some might say, and his State of the Union speech on Tuesday was the longest in American history by some way, and it had the fact-checkers earning their pay. In Britain, Trump's ramble was largely ignored. Perhaps Trump fatigue has finally got us all bored. On Saturday, though, the world sat up and listened as he welcomed the new dark dawn that had risen. At Friday's high-stakes summit in Geneva, Iran and the US had been pulling every lever, but with levels of suspicion and hate off the scale, discussions to resolve things were doomed to fail. It was never eye to eye, just an eye for an eye, and so by late Friday tensions were high. Talk of striking Iran may have seemed daft, but in hindsight it had been telegraphed. And sure enough, next morning Trump went for broke. A preemptive strike was his master stroke, using some of that fabled shock and awe to initiate an unexpected war. With Israel as the USA's sidekick, Trump hoped to get the business done quick, and brutality on day one did the trick, and the Ayatollah died under a pile of bricks. So the US had got their main person of interest, a Persian of interest who's now put to rest. Taking out Khamenei on the first day had Operation Epic Fury well underway. But it's a bit too soon for too much backslapping. Very recent history shows what can still happen. Russia's special military operation in Ukraine has turned into a campaign of pain with little gain. Tuesday's 4th anniversary of the invasion was hardly cause for Russian celebration. Ukraine's rallied round the flag and still ain't flagging. Putin's bragging's turned to blatant blagging, as into the mire his meat grinder keeps dragging.